Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. The show is about to begin.
Truth, lies, shenanigans. 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 Tune in to TLS. Yeah, tune in to TLS. It's the TLS show. Coming to you live from the TLS show.
Hey everybody, welcome to Truth Lies Shenanigans. Social commentary, hot topics, and amazing guests with a ton of fun and shenanigans along the way. This week we have a fantastic guest, author, educator, Connie Stephens-Eaton. She's here to talk about her recent projects, and we'll also ask her about the decline in funding for art programs in schools and whether she thinks artificial intelligence is taking over the art world. Then we have to talk about the release of the video of Tyre Nichols being murdered by police in Memphis. We'll also try to get some time in to talk about the kid in the UK who is being arrested for inspiring some of the US mass shootings, and also a conversation of fears of recession. But first up, let me introduce you to my incredible host. First up, we have our nature lover, gamer, rock star coming to you from Ontario, Canada, Mr. Robbie Rock.
What's up, everyone? It's so great to be with you all again today. I had another great week in Northern Ontario. More snow, more cold, more fun. But I have to tell you, right? But I did decide to invest in some blue light filter glasses, and I have to tell you that they live up to the hype. I immediately felt a reduction in eye strain, less glare from ambient sources, and being an IT guy, I don't know how I went without these for so long.
Wow.
So if you work in front of screens all day, or if you're exposed to bright lights, reflective surfaces, look into these glasses. Do yourself a favor.
Honestly, everyone should get themselves a pair because we're always exposed and always looking at our phone screen. So that'd be something to look into.
You had them on earlier. Can we see them?
Well,
Yes.
they're not really.
Oh.
Okay.
Double up.
Why are
Yeah.
they
These are exactly, but these are just to cover up my regular glasses. But I was telling
Oh,
Neil
okay.
earlier that when I get my next prescription glasses, I'm definitely going to have the blue light filtering in the lens. But in the meantime, hey, if I'm gaming or sitting in front of my computer screen remotely, what do I care what I look like?
For our listeners, it looked like he had goggles on, like he had basketball goggles on.
I look ridiculous with these.
Yeah, with the bald head too.
Yeah, I look like one of those creepy Hollywood guys. Get up and come and talent, I tell you.
Yes, with the dark shade tinge
That's funny.
and the long lens.
All right. Next up, our college student, model, business owner, streaming from Atlanta, Georgia, Miss Gianni Storm.
Hello. It's been a crazy busy week. I've been into audiobooks. So I've actually just recently listened to this book called The One Thing by Gary Keller, which I think everybody should check out. If you have an issue with focusing on anything, it can be anything. I think you should check this book out if you haven't already. It's called The One Thing by Gary Keller. This isn't a sponsorship, by the way.
It's not a sponsorship.
Neither was
But
mine
no,
for the blue light glasses.
I know we're like plugging people into stuff. I feel like as I've gotten older, I've lost my ability to somewhat multitask. So I just, I need something to help me kind of have a guide to focusing on one thing at a time, taking things slow. There's a lot going on behind this noggin.
Curiosity question, follow-up question on that, Johnny. Would you say that this is something that might be helpful for ADD?
Yes. Yes, I would definitely think so. I never had, speaking personally, I've never had it, was diagnosed with ADD growing up, but I noticed as I've gotten older and maybe been through more things and more anxious, I've noticed that I could, I don't want to self-diagnose, but I could have ADHD or ADD. I think I could because it's
There
just
is
so.
adult onset.
Oh,
There is an
really?
adult onset age. Yeah, that you might not have had it as a child, but as an adult, you will get it. So you should probably talk to your doctor because it would be helpful.
Yeah, that would be to know that to properly do the right things. That's interesting because I could see that.
Out of curiosity,
I
I
could.
find that people with ADHD can be very successful as well because they
Wow.
tend to always push ahead, move forward, always wanting to do the next thing. And a lot of the successful people in in our world had ADHD.
Really? Wow.
They tend to hyper focus on like one thing. Like people think that they're
That's
scatterbrained and they're
flip
not.
side.
That's not true. They
Okay.
can hyper focus on one thing and become really good at that one thing.
The flip side of ADD is the hyper focus, and if you can learn to lean into that hyper focus, then you're absolutely right, Dr. J.
Wow.
When I pick up a new hobby, oh my god, it's what I'm all about. It's obsessive. So
Oh.
Wow.
yeah,
Interesting.
All right. And that voice you've been listening to sitting in for Lizzie this week, our mom, doctor, and resident puppy expert, Dr. Robin Johnson, aka Dr. J.
Hello, hello, everybody. It's good to be back and sitting in the hot spot.
The hot spot.
How's your
Yeah, Lizzie's spot. That's the hot spot.
This week has been it's been really busy. Considering that this is typically what we would call our quote unquote slow season.
Mm.
But in ER I think there's never a slow season, and a dog in a 20-mile radius has decided to eat everything this weekend.
So tummy problems? Is that what we're talking about?
I have taken some strange things out of dogs this weekend.
Oh God!
Oh my goodness.
Like what? I mean, you got to give details.
the strangest thing you've taken out of a dog.
Just throw that out there.
Last night I took out a cardboard box and like huge sections of cardboard
What?
out of a stomach.
Wow.
I don't know why the dog ate it, but it did, and it was
Oh my
like
goodness.
it was a
That's
pretty
like-
interesting.
That's called
So not the
pica, right?
high fiber diet that you would recommend for a pet.
No, this is not Metamucil. This was pure cardboard.
I think it's a lot.
Crazy.
All
My
right.
goodness.
And of course, I am your host, Neo Nix.
Yeah.
So this weekend, I don't know. I've just been angry, I guess. Bunch of anger because of this Tyre Nichols video. I just feel like it's insane, after the national attention we had with like George Floyd, and to kind of see this stuff still happening, and I don't understand why people think it's okay. But anyway, that's been my weekend. I haven't really done much else. I've been kind of just working on this and working on Pods Network. So, but we're definitely gonna get into the Nichols story a little bit later. So looking forward to that conversation. Oh, who's that? Salute, Logic and friends.
Nice.
You say salute? Is that how I'm supposed to say it?
That's how I'm reading it.
Salute.
Salute.
Could be right.
Salute. Salute.
I always mess up the languages.
Right?
All right, let's go ahead and get started. Looks like a bunch of people online as well. Oh yeah, Mike Renner says my friend's dog ate a bunch of paper yesterday just for attention. She left him alone for too long, and he protested by eating non-food.
That happens a lot.
They do that.
They do.
get
It's a
bored.
lot of,
Anxiety,
and everybody's
yeah.
been home, and now they're like, left alone, and they don't know what to do. So.
Yeah.
Mm.
And Jacqueline Robinson online also says that I know at least 3 adults who were very successful and they were diagnosed with adult ADHD. So, yeah.
Oh wow.
So maybe you have it, Gianni. So we're going to see some success from you, okay?
More
big
success.
things.
We're going to keep seeing success from Johnny.
Big things.
Keep
Yeah.
seeing success.
All right. All right. Well, today we have a special guest. Our guest is Connie Stephens-Eaton. She's a self-taught artist from Louisiana who teaches art in continuing education, youth camps, and works with at-risk youth. She was even selected by the Louisiana State Board of Health to represent Louisiana in an art campaign on COVID release. Today, we're going to find out some of her new projects and ask her some questions about AI taking over the art world and what she thinks about dwindling funds for art programs in schools. So let's welcome Connie Stephens. Hey, Connie, welcome to the show. How are you? Welcome to our podcast.
Connie.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Connie. So first question, have to ask, it's the same question we ask all our guests. Just tell us something, anything that we couldn't look on Google and find out about you.
I would have to say, when did I get started in art? That would be something you could not find on Google.
So when did you get started?
I was about 4 years old.
Oh, really?
When I started.
Oh,
wow.
And what got you started?
My grandfather, actually. I grew up around my grandparents, and my grandfather did a lot of stuff with his hands, and I would watch him. So he started buying me paper and crayons, and I just picked it up from there. So I would truly have to say that I am a self-taught artist. So yeah.
Wow, it's amazing. And I'm looking at some of the art behind you. It's like some really good stuff. I see it's like a black man in chains, breaking out of his chains, and a young black girl in the background. It looks like a family behind you, or is that a father and daughter?
It's actually two young black males.
Okay.
I did a series of paintings with the different types of afflictions. And I don't know if you can tell, but one of the young men in the painting has one arm.
Oh, I didn't see it. Okay.
Oh, wow.
He's still capable to participate in sports. So,
I love that.
Well,
Thank you.
I actually have, let me share some of your artwork here. I mean, you have
Beautiful.
amazing talent.
Thank you.
Wow.
It looks like you've done Starry Night in watercolors, but you're using, what is this? This is a cabin. That's awesome. Yeah, it's some amazing work.
They're
so actually,
so intricate.
Yeah, and the link to her work is actually on our description. So feel free to take a look at some of her work. So so tell me, what's the world looking like in Louisiana? So you're living in Louisiana now, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, and I've been down there a few times, and the things I love most is the food, the music, and the art.
Yep. Art. Yep.
So tell me what's going on down there now in terms of the art. What are you working on?
Right now I'm doing a series on celebrities. And the celebrities that I'm painting are actually deceased. I've just done a painting on Marvin Gaye. I did one on Prince. The one that I did on Prince, I couldn't keep it. I had a lot of hits on it. A lot of people wanted it. And with Mardi Gras season in Louisiana, I'm also doing some paintings on Mardi Gras.
So you sold the one on Prince? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh man.
Out of curiosity, I just need to know, how much does something like that go for?
Good question.
Well, it depends on what size I'm doing this. If I choose to frame it, the the Prince painting that I did was an 11 by 14. And I would start that at 200. I'm not an expensive artist, so I would start at 200.
I can afford you.
I have to ask,
Beautiful.
how much are the Prince? How much are the Prince prints?
Prince. You said 200.
Right now they're 75.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Oh, wow.
I will take one
for
right now.
14.
Okay. So I know I normally ask this at the end, but how do I get one?
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah, seriously.
All you have to do is just message me on Facebook, and I mean, I'm sitting right here now, just so you can just.
Well,
You could put me down for one. I will take a Prince. I love Prince. I've always loved Prince.
yeah.
We'll definitely get that out to you all.
All right.
Okay.
So you worked on this COVID project for Louisiana Board of Health. Tell us about that.
Mhm. The way I was chosen for that, here in Shreveport, you have to be chosen as a collectible artist. And what that is, they bring in judges from other states to come in and judge your artwork. And out of 44 artists, they chose four, and I was one of the four.
Oh wow.
And
Wow.
as a opportunity, one of the opportunities that rose up with that was the Louisiana Department of Health. They were trying to get African Americans, people in low income areas to go and get the vaccine.
Mm.
So we were commissioned, there are four regions in Louisiana, so we were commissioned, one for each region, to do a billboard design, one that could be placed throughout Louisiana in order to encourage, like I said, African Americans, people that are in low income areas,
Mm-hmm.
to go and get this vaccine. And so, because I was chosen as a collectible artist and being an African American, I was given the opportunity to do this for the state.
Okay, that's awesome.
Very nice.
Wow.
All right, so this is Truth Lies Shenanigans. So we got to get some truth lies and some shenanigans from you. So with you being an art educator, right? We've noticed that funding nationwide for the arts has been dropping drastically. Let me ask you. I mean, what do we need to do? Well, first, I'd like you to share the importance of art, especially in education, and what can we do to kind of change that trend?
I feel like art is very important because art can tie into every aspect of the curriculum. Art also allows the students to have an opportunity to express himself through creativity. Unfortunately, especially here in the Northwest region of Louisiana, with the high rate of low performance schools, art is one of those subjects that's being pulled out of the schools.
Mm.
It is a lot of schools are given the choice. If you consider low performance, either you're going to take extra math classes, or you're going to have to pick up something and you're going to have to lose something. And so art was one of those things that got pulled out of a lot of school. Funding got cut as a part of that because a lot of people feel like art is not important enough when really
Mhm.
it is. And sadly, there are a lot of low performance schools here in Northwest Louisiana that don't offer art. And so there's a lot of talent, and the talent goes unseen because art is no longer offered and the funding is not there.
And then there's no training for those young artists to be able to flourish and
Exactly.
thrive. And right.
And see,
I'm
here
very
in Northwest
curious.
Louisiana, I'm
Sorry,
sorry,
go
say it
ahead.
again.
No,
Okay,
please go ahead.
I'm a part of the Art Council here, and we have a large program that goes on every year. It's called Art Break. And it's like a competition, and it involves all of the schools around Northwest Louisiana, where those students that don't have the opportunity to have art in their schools, they can't participate because this is something that is done through the schools or through education. So they
Wow.
lose a lot when they pull the art funding and art is not offered.
So just on with children being disadvantaged and having those programs removed, I'm very curious about your work with at-risk youth. And how did the opportunity present itself for you to work with them? How has the art influenced the youth that you work with, and how has this work influenced you?
The students that I worked with had a lot of disabilities, and art was a way to enhance those disabilities. These were students that were slower in learning. Some of the students that I worked with also had behavior problems.
Mm.
I noticed one young man that I was working with, he had behavior problems, and I gave him some paper and I said, draw me something. This young man sat down and he drew a water system. He drew a complete system of how to get water and filter it out of the ocean and get it into people's homes. And this was a young man that was having behavior problems. And then he was tested. I took this drawing and I showed it to my superiors. He was tested, and then we found out this young man was gifted.
Wow.
Had it not been for
Wow.
him doing something with art, we wouldn't have picked up on it. So we found out he was gifted. He was placed in gifted and talented classes, and then his behavior changed. Now he has a challenge.
Wow.
So,
It sounds like the
Wow.
conversation we were having earlier about ADHD and kind of like
Yeah.
just kind of hyper focusing them in a different direction.
Wow. Yes.
And
and
a
it
lot of
gives them
gifted
something
kids
to
do
focus.
have behavioral issues because if they understand the concepts, really understand the concepts that are being taught in class already, they are bored. So they act out in different ways. That's,
Yeah.
believe me,
Yeah.
I know.
Exactly.
You know, aside from just like, you know, petitioning school boards, how else can we work on getting like the art into these children? Because I know, like, from experience, I have a daughter who's ADHD and loves art and is, you know, enjoying. Luckily, you know, we have art in her school, and she's taking this year to actually explore a lot of different mediums. She's discovering that she likes photography, but you know, I've put her
Aw.
in some other things, you know. But how can we really get, because, you know, I've seen art do wonders. So I think it's really
Yeah.
important to get this into, you know, these kids. If we can't get into the school system, we got to find another way.
Right.
Well, for me, I've started doing private art lessons. I have students that I'm working with that are homeschooled.
Hmm.
And of course, being homeschooled, art is not offered. So I will go to their homes. There are several artists that's doing that now. They are doing private art lessons where you go to the home and teach one-on-one art with these students, or you can designate an area and the students can come and meet with you to learn how to do art. And I have some talented students, and I'm very proud of my students.
Very nice.
Thank you.
My question, I know that you have said that, well, you've explained that you're self-taught. What made you choose to self-teach? Was that just a natural inclination? Was it just natural to begin artwork? And can anyone self-teach, in your opinion? Can anyone teach themselves, in your opinion, art?
I would say it started off as a hobby,
Mm-hmm.
and I think you can be self-taught if you just work at it. What made me stay with it in the third grade, we were all given paper. We were in class, we were given paper, and we were told to draw whatever is on our mind. And
Yeah.
I did, and that's what I did. We had no idea that it was a competition. Nobody told us. And so my mom got a phone call about a week later, and I found out that I won. So I actually won my first art competition in the third grade, and that was
Wow.
inspiration for me. One of the prizes for winning was art lessons, and because I was already drawing, so I took the art lessons. You get free art supplies and all of that. So
Yay.
that was an inspiration for me.
Yeah, sometimes
But
art
if
comes
you,
naturally.
Yes, to
it
some, it's
does, and
just a
it did
natural
for
thing.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
for
for
some of
It did
you.
us,
for me.
enter a lick.
So
What's your favorite medium?
yeah.
My favorite
What's your
medium, I
favorite
would have
medium?
to say, my favorite medium, I would have to say, is watercolor. I work in all mediums, but and as you can tell, the pieces behind me are watercolor.
Yep,
But
definitely.
what is so
Yes.
funny about me is I cannot draw, but I can paint,
Ah.
and
Wow.
I haven't figured that one out. So yeah,
Wow, that's
my
interesting.
That's
my
So
drawing is
basically, you're
awful.
able to kind of like put your pictures in your mind onto the canvas without actually
through
drawing it.
painting.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So it kind of comes to
So
life.
I can
Watercolors
kind
is hard to
of,
work in,
Got
though.
you.
I've tried to
They
work in.
are.
Watercolors, they're
Very
hard to
different.
work in for me.
I've had some practice. So I hear that a lot, and a lot of artists won't touch. A lot of artists won't do watercolor, but I've gotten the hang of it.
Nice. All right.
I
So
have
there's
a question about a specific piece. As I was going through your gallery and your collection, Clementine Hunter, Red Chicken. Who is she? Her eyes are so soulful, and it's such a minimalist painting, but I found myself really drawn to it. So I want to know who this person is.
Clementine Hunter was an artist here in Louisiana around the Natchitoches area, and she didn't start art until late in life. Clementine Hunter was also one of those artists that, and I'm just going to be real, she was discovered by someone that is white, and she was paid little of nothing for her artwork, and then all of a sudden her artwork became very, very famous. Clementine Hunter has passed away. She's been deceased for several years, and her artwork is selling for thousands on up, and her family receives no royalties or anything like that, but she is very well known for folk art.
Yeah.
Wow.
All right, we're running a bit out of time, but I just have to ask you this one question. So there's, of course, this new trend of artificial intelligence art. So computers, robots making art. So I'm looking at them, and the art that is created by the AIs is actually pretty striking. It's actually pretty amazing and eye-catching. So do you think that robots eventually will replace us, artists?
I don't think so. I've looked at AI. If you look at some of the artwork that's been done, they cannot do hands. There's always some type of flaw with AI. As a human being, we do the thinking, we do the creativity. AI is just what it is. It's artificial. It does what we tell it, and it's not. They say intelligent, but it's not intelligent enough to even do hands. So
I'm curious what my
no, I
panel
don't think
thinks
it's.
too. I'm curious what my panel thinks. AI?
I don't think it's
really-
going to replace humans in art because there's a passion in art that you can't
There's
make
an
as
originality.
a
that
Yeah.
you can't replicate.
yeah.
Just
Yeah.
even as a musician, AI generated music technically can be absolutely flawless, but it lacks that soul.
I mean, right,
emotion.
because you need the flaw, right? The flaws are what make it unique and
Yeah.
different and special.
Doesn't tell a
That's what,
story.
that's what
and
makes
that's what
jazz
they say.
pop, is that it's slipping and sliding everywhere.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, I'm actually curious if AI could do jazz. I mean, that might be interesting to see.
Right?
All right.
They
All
can
right.
do anything at this point.
All right,
Yeah,
Connie.
can do anything.
We're out of time,
do it
Connie.
well.
But do you have any final words, anything you'd like to share with our audience, any shout outs? And please let everyone know how they can find you and find your art.
I am with Culturalist under Expressions in Watercolor. I am also on Instagram at Connie Eaton 899, and you can also find me on Facebook under Connie Eaton as well. I just like to end by saying thank you for allowing me this opportunity, and I will say please, please, please support the Black artists.
I love that.
Yes. Yes.
Fantastic
Yes,
final words. Thank you so much for
Mhm.
joining us,
Thank you.
Connie.
Thank you, Connie.
I'll talk to you soon.
Love
Wow.
it.
Really
Yeah.
good guest, huh?
Beautiful
Mhm.
work.
Artist.
Really good guest. So, yeah, because art, we can't get rid of art.
No.
Mhm.
It's one of the things I
No.
loved in school. You know,
Me too.
I was one of those gifted and talented students in school too, but art was really what kind of centered me, and I enjoyed it. I know my sister still has some of my art from when I was a kid. I don't know where she found it. But
Olivia,
And
she
for-
would.
for an ADD kid, before ADD was a thing, if
Yeah.
I would get lost in my art, that's when the hyper focus would kick in. But it was always, it was just such a great outlet for
Yeah.
me. It always was.
Kevin
It had
Daxon,
no rules.
Kevin Thaxton says art can be mathematic. IA can mimic certain
100%.
actions, but it has to be told. For now, a maniacal laugh.
He said that.
I'll get the chair spin going too.
All right, let's get into our hot topic.
Truth, lies, shenanigans.
All right. Sorry to switch gears on you guys like this, but warning for those watching. The video we're about to share is a bit graphic. I'm certain many of you watching and listening are aware that this past week, a video was released of the brutal murder of Tyre Nichols by 5 Memphis police officers who were part of an elite unit called the Scorpions. Now, in the video, Tyre is pulled over for a traffic violation. And the officers seem highly agitated, angry throughout the video. They end up violently pulling him out of the car, forcing him to the ground. And the entire time, Tyre is complying and letting them know he's trying to comply. He says, he can be heard saying, okay, I'm on the ground. You guys are really doing a lot right now. I'm just trying to go home. He actually seemed to be, in my opinion, de-escalating the situation. And then they're still yelling at him, pulling his arms violently behind his back, threatening him, trying to tase him, even saying they're going to break his arm. And Tyre is clearly fearing for his life, and he breaks free, runs away, and they eventually catch up to him, beat him, slap him, pepper spray, kick. They were just going in on him. And at one point, he's on the ground crying for his mom. And they did this relentlessly for like 3 minutes. One of the videos seems to show him standing up so that they can punch him several times in the face and then get more hits with a baton. They kick him several times while he's completely incapacitated. And they finally let him up. They sat him up against a car, and it was at least like 20 minutes before he received any medical attention. And this is even though paramedics had been there 15 minutes before that. And they just sat there letting him, sat there letting him bleed out or internally bleed. Now, he ultimately does die from his injuries. One thing that's very, very important to note is all the police officers were black. 5 of the police officers have been charged with murder. So let me just start with your reaction to what you saw in the video. I'm going to start with Gianni.
Highly disturbed, disgusted. I feel like just watching how they're handling his body, and you can see like his weight kind of fluctuate because they're like just hanging him. Well, not hanging him, but holding him by his arm, and the other one's punching him.
It's like they're holding him up to punch him more, right?
Yeah, it's so torturous. This is like stuff that you see in like video games or like movies. It's really, really disgusting. It almost looks fake. Like my brain has a hard time of actually believing it. It's very, very disturbing. That's my initial reaction. Honestly, but I also I found it interesting that all the officers were black, and I know this might digress a little bit, but all the officers were black, and inside of the article, they were called criminals immediately. Like they were considered criminals. I don't know.
So you're saying you have concerns with the fact that they were,
they are criminals. They are, in this sense, it's true. But I just feel like, for me, there's an underlying thing going on with the media and how they're portraying cops, and they're obviously deciphering that they're black cops, so they're criminals. White cops that have been in similar circumstances haven't been called criminals.
All right, well, let me ask this question. Is a problem with white versus black, cops versus black, or just cops in general, cops versus everyone?
It's them versus us. Yeah.
I think that the issue that we have here is, it's one that you have a racial component to it, and then you have a police component to it.
Mm-hmm.
That we have an issue in our police departments of people who should not be there because they are not protecting or serving. We have an issue in that it is, you have to, say, well, what was different here? And what is different here is that these cops swiftly came to punishment. They were fired immediately. They were charged immediately. And when we have seen this over and over and over again. And you do have to sit there and say, wait a minute, how come these cops were so quickly charged, and rightfully so, but we have other cops who did not get the same charges, did not have those.
Let's come back to that. I mean, I'm because obviously it's different that they were charged so quickly. It's different than what we've seen in the past. But I'm more asking, are we, because we saw black cops treating a black man like this, right? We're seeing him being brutalized by black cops who you would think would understand.
Sympathize.
Right, exactly.
I mean,
Empathize and understand
I
the
feel like
brutality of what they're doing.
all I hear is KRS-One black cop in my head. That it does not, that does not, race does not protect you in dealing with the police, no matter what the color of the police officer is.
It's the cop.
It doesn't matter whether it's a white cop or a black cop. Some people feel that the black cops will do just as much or worse because they have something to prove. I don't think that just because they were black, yes, one hand should say you should have looked at this man differently, but then the other hand is that you have your thin blue line and you are going to be behind that blue curtain.
So you think the problem is cops versus black people, or cops versus everyone? Is it just a cop problem?
Yes. That's how I feel. It's anger.
But we know from studies that a lot of people who have psychotic tendencies end up in law enforcement.
It's the top 10. Top 10 job for psychopaths.
Exactly. It's I know that when this came out, one of the comments Joe had made to me was that she had read a tweet about someone saying, hey, I still remember, my high school bully who tormented me, who made my life miserable and is now serving, behind the thin blue line. And there's a lot of that when you look at some of the law enforcement in your community, you go, you know what? Like, this is a real POS growing up. This person isn't there to protect and serve.
What's a POS?
Piece of.
You're really not gonna.
Piece of dungeon.
Yeah. But yeah, to me, it's the fact that this went on for 3 minutes blows my mind. Like, I wrestled in high school. I know how grueling 3 minutes
is a
can
long
be.
Time.
Exactly. I can't imagine what was going on.
1 minute
for
is a
Tyre
long time.
Nichols, man. Like,
there was a black cop involved with George Floyd too. It's just like it's not, it's not the color of the cop. It's the mentality of the cop. It's the mentality of, that they get the adrenaline, and the adrenaline goes on and it kicks in, and then everything else goes out the window. I have a friend of mine, and I can't necessarily, totally fact check this, but I have a friend of mine in Florida who is saying that, the cops' testosterones are checked, and if they're low, then they're supplemented. Like,
really,
there's an issue there. I can't fact check that, but that's what she told me. And there's an issue there.
This is sense of superiority that cops have that really annoys the out of me.
Yeah, it's very annoying. It's very
every mother is upset because all you can do is see your child there.
Yeah.
And no matter what you tell your child, comply, do this, do that, this still happens.
It does.
And I have I have 2 children. Luckily my son will hopefully never have to deal with this because of his disabilities. But my daughter could have, because this is happening to girls too. My daughter could have this, and she has her own level of disabilities. She has her own processing issues, and I know that she would absolutely freeze if confronted with someone being aggressive like this in a sense of power. We have got to change, and it's not going to stop until the good cops have to start speaking forward. You've got to get rid of these people. You got to.
So my thoughts are, I mean, just to say my thoughts, I think that it's definitely a cop problem. There's no doubt there's a culture with cops of just the superiority, the psychopath mentality, or whatever it is. But I do think there's still a strong cops versus black people problem because are cops more likely to kill, hurt, beat black people? Absolutely, and it's because they can. I mean, it doesn't matter that they were black officers. It's police officers that believe they can treat people like they did Tyre. And ask yourself, can you imagine what would have happened if these same 5 black cops were doing the exact same thing to a white man? If Tyre was a white man? You can't, because it doesn't happen.
That doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen.
It rarely happens. I can't say it does. It has happened, but it doesn't rarely happen.
Rarely happens. It rarely
Not in
happens.
an instance where it's been recorded like this to this extent, and he's been beaten for 20 minutes and
but that's
watching.
But that's usually because action happens swiftly in those cases. When it doesn't, when it is a non-person, when it's a person who's not of color, action against that cop happens swiftly, so it doesn't even get to this point because the cop has already been removed or fired. It's just that when it seems to be with people of color, then the cop is still at the job, except if
those same black cops, if it were a white guy, would not have done what they did. If it was a white guy, I do not believe for 1 second that they would have. It was okay for them to treat a black man that way. And it's a shame that black people, and I love what Jacqueline Robinson says online, these cops are glorified gang members in uniform. It's appalling that they saw a man who looked like them and refused to see his humanity. That's what makes you. That's what makes me angry. I mean, and I agree with her. It's angering. Go ahead, Gianni.
Yeah. You said that they were a specialized group, Scorpion.
They were called the Scorpions, a specialized unit, yeah.
So does that mean that they're trained better than a normal cop, or they're trained more specialized to be in
They were more specialized, but they were probably trained to be more aggressive. Clearly. Yeah.
I mean, we could also look at like the history of cops, like the history of policing in this
just
country.
Going down that path too. Go ahead.
Is that, the history of the police force started to recapture runaway slaves. So
modern police
people
force.
of color have always been considered a target of the police force. Yep. And, that's just, whether people like to hear that history or not, that's the history of policing in this country. That's where it started.
Slave patrols. That's how it started, from slave patrols. That's where our system of policing started in this country, were slave patrols. And it was built out from there. So, it's and there were black slave patrollers.
Mm-hmm.
They were just as brutal, if not more brutal, than the white ones.
So they had something to prove.
Exactly. So I mean, it's just really frustrating to see.
Part of the irony for me is that the footage that was captured was from a light pole camera that was placed there by police services to help monitor crime in the community.
How ironic, right?
There is some irony in that, but it absolutely captured crime in your community, except that the perpetrators were law enforcement. And this was a vicious, brutal crime. And, it was only 3 houses away from where he was going home. As a parent, I can't imagine, all this activity going on outside and going, oh, geez, what's going down? And meanwhile, it's your child that's being clubbed, bludgeoned to death by the police that have made this traffic stop. And there was no reason for it. I know, just listening to some of the articles and senior officials, typically in a case like this, if the perpetrator flees the scene, they don't chase because they have the vehicle. If you've got the vehicle, you're going to find the perpetrator. You're going to find the person that you're looking for.
Exactly.
So they didn't follow procedure at all. They just, I don't know what the heck this was. So
the fact that it was like 4 or 5 on 1.
Yeah,
They didn't
like
need all those cops.
it's a predatory beatdown. It's awful.
So Robbie, and to what you say, I mean, really resonates with me as being considered a black man in this country. It scares me to be pulled over. I mean, every time I get frightened, and then I can imagine myself in Tyre Nichols being that guy who gets pulled over, and this group of extremely aggressive cops, for whatever reason. We don't even know the real reason that they were being so aggressive, because they were hyper aggressive, and it didn't come from nowhere. It could have been he was just being, standoffish to them or whatever, but it doesn't matter. We've seen lots of video where cops escalate and refuse to de-escalate. But you can hear him saying, okay, I'm de-escalating, I'm getting down. I mean, I can imagine myself being that guy, and just like, because when they're tasing him and beating him and he runs away, I mean, in the past, you would hear people saying, oh, why'd he run away? If he ran away, then of course they're going to. No, because he was clearly in a situation where his life was absolutely in danger. I am resisting, I am running, I am getting away, I am doing everything I can to save my life. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with him having run. He should have run. He should have got away. All right.
I mean, I think also, I was going to say, I think also too, another thing that goes on that we've got, that the cops, what the police system's gotten away from. You used to have community policing. Like the cops that were in your neighborhood were from your neighborhood. My father was a police officer for a period of time before I was born. Yes, but
y'all know about that. Y'all know nothing about that.
Yes, I know that. But you have, and you have something that we've gotten away from, and that you have people coming into a neighborhood, and this particular, like other groups, specialized groups in the country, there are other groups just like this Scorpion group. They're going into these quote unquote neighborhoods of high crime. They're already hyper, like, I'm going in to get these bad guys. Everybody in the neighborhood is looked at as a suspect, and they don't live there. They don't know these people. And when you lose that, then you have these things happening. They have no reason to care about somebody on the street, because they look at everybody on the street as a criminal.
All right. Going back to your comment about the fact that these black cops were charged so quickly. I mean, why do we think that's the case? Is it because they're black and because they're expendable? Why would they? I mean, I will say Derek Chauvin was charged pretty quickly. I look back, I think he was charged within a couple of weeks. But
these guys got charged within days.
Yeah. Well, I think it was days with Chauvin. I think he was charged. I think the incident happened on the 25th, and it happened. He was charged before the end of the month, so he was charged pretty quickly. But that was,
that was escalated. Everybody
that situation. People were going to riot if he didn't get arrested.
Yeah.
So
they rioted because even if he did.
So he needed to get arrested. But with that being said, outside of Derek Chauvin and that situation, you're right. In most times, you go through these stupid investigations for months. You go through, we have to figure out if they did it, who did what, why did they do it, and they don't get. So these cops were basically expendable, right?
There's another case. We're going to sit there. The case, it was several years ago, of I want to say she was an Australian woman who was here, and the black cop shot and killed her. Mm-hmm. And he was fired fairly quickly. And, so there is a sense of like black cops, they are expendable. They tend to get fired. I think, I don't have the statistics, but I would say that from what I have seen, if it is a cop of color, they tend to be removed way quicker than other cops do when something like this happens.
And I feel like in this circumstance, because they saw that this was getting escalated as well, maybe not obviously to the extent of George Floyd, but because it was getting escalated, I think they wanted to make a point and cut ties with those cops, just to make a point and show people that, we're not This is not something that we clearly don't condone, approve of. This is not policing. And notice, like I said, the words that they use in the article or at the press release, I guess, they were just kind of making it seem like, yeah, they were criminals. We don't, which is true though. That's why it's hard for me to speak like that, because it's true, they are criminals, and what they were very true about it. But it's just a different underlying tone. It's just a different tone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think you can sit there and say that there is, you can acknowledge, like, yes, they were criminals, they're being called as such, but you can also acknowledge that we have yet to see the same terminology used for cops who've done similar things of other color. The dichotomy exists.
And on the topic of criminality, it's the question of the other officers that were on scene that failed to intervene. They failed in their duty to render aid.
Yep.
The EMTs
20
that were
minutes.
on scene.
Yeah, Jacqueline Robinson said, can we also talk about the EMTs who stood around for several minutes and rendered no aid? 15 minutes. Yeah. I counted it. Go ahead,
they absolutely failed to protect and serve. It's their motto. To
They're
protect
just
and
as
serve.
bad as the people beating them. If you're just sitting there and watching.
It was a mob. This was a mob mentality. It was some weird vigilante justice. Pick up your clubs and pitchforks and go get them.
He didn't do anything. That's the worst thing about it.
He ran because he was scared.
He didn't have drugs. He didn't have nothing on him.
I mean, but even then, they were already aggressively hurting him and beating him before he ran. So there's something.
It's also been stated the police chief has said that, I saw this today, that she's like, the whole intent of the stop is not being able to be corroborated. Like what they said for why they stopped him, they've not been able to fully corroborate. They've not been able to corroborate that he was driving recklessly or anything. And so, it's I think too, also we have to sit there and say that, there's a black woman police chief who, took action fairly quickly. I mean, this incident happened like on a Thursday night or Friday, and by Saturday she had
maybe
started.
That's the reason that this was different. Maybe it's because it was a black police chief.
And that they also called in. They've also called in. They called in. The police department called in FBI and DOJ and all these things for review. So these things have happened fairly quickly, which we've not seen in other things. And I don't know if it's just, I think that Memphis Police Department has been in trouble before with the DOJ over things. Yeah. And so, the question
is, Memphis, Tennessee. I mean, that doesn't surprise me one bit. No. I'm sure. But I mean, to your point about the question of whether or not, of why these black men were arrested and charged so quickly, it could be because there was a black police chief who could understand the humanity of Tyre, as Jacqueline Robinson said.
That's a really good point.
There's a few agendas.
Unfortunately, we could probably talk about it the rest of the day. But let's get to some of these comments real quick. Jacqueline Robinson's been pretty active, so let's see. The fact that they were narrating an alibi for themselves that contradicted what was actually shown indicates that they have done something like this before. The initial press release read like all the others. The victim was blamed, and it read as if he had died after a confrontation. The media needs to scrutinize these press releases with a healthy dose of skepticism. 100% agree.
100.
I agree.
One of the cops had been, accused of being with another incident of an inmate being made unconscious before this happened.
Jeez.
These cops, I mean, just cops in general. I don't trust the police. I mean, it's been in songs and rap songs for years, and it's just I've never really trusted them, but it's worse now that you see people who have, we've heard anecdotal stories I've heard anecdotal stories throughout my life, and now that I'm seeing them in real life, in living color, I'm even more scared than I was before.
If anything, it's a case for less guns and more cameras in the U.S. You need eyes everywhere to protect everyone and to keep everyone accountable.
All right, is this
Then we're gonna
truth?
be like China.
Lies, shenanigans. I'm worried about the cameras.
UK.
I'm not.
Yeah, I don't know about the cameras. They
I
wanna
think
they
it's a
want us to be
sad.
like the
Shenanigans.
Shenanigans.
truth of
It's
shenanigans.
absolutely a truth. It's
Yes.
some awful truth.
Stuff. I am glad that the
Awful
police
truth.
officer, for whatever reason, these guys needed to be. They needed more than jail, personally.
Absolutely.
But I am glad
Absolutely.
that they were
know.
quickly
I wish I-
arrested and charged. So, whatever the reason was, I really don't care. They should have been happy if it was even faster. All right. Okay.
I hope they
Let's
get
move on.
put
We're
in
really
jail.
short on time, of course, as we suspected. But Rob, I think we can get yours in. So let's go.
All right.
Shenanigans.
All right, Robbie, you have some
All right.
conversation on this guy in UK.
I'm going to try to do the intro nice and quick here. So, in May 14th of 2022, Peyton Gendron, who was 18 years old at the time from Conklin, New York, wrote a white supremacist manifesto online, traveled about 200 miles to Tops Friendly Markets store in Buffalo, and live streamed while he opened fire and eventually killed 10 and wounded another 3. Of those shot, 11 were black and 2 were Caucasian. So now, a British teenager who produced far-right hate videos that influenced the Buffalo shooter has been jailed for 11 and a half years. So Daniel Harris, who's 19, he's from Derbyshire in northern England, posted videos that were shared by Peyton Gendron and who pleaded guilty to the shooting in Buffalo. Now, during the sentencing, the judge was quoted as saying that what they did was truly appalling, but what they did was no more than you intended to encourage others to do when publishing this material online. So my question to you is it reasonable for a person to be charged or jailed in their home nation for content creation that inspires someone to commit a hate crime in another country?
I'm gonna go ahead and start. So I'm a little torn on this, actually. So I'm thrilled. Well, let me explain. So I'm thrilled that that this. I'm thrilled whenever I see scummy people go to jail. I'm happy about that, right? This guy is scummy, right?
Lock him up.
But I always have to try to put myself in their shoes too. Like, what if I say something on this show that inspires someone to do something stupid, unexpected, like break a leg and someone goes and breaks their leg, or someone goes and jumps off a building. I say, jump off a building, Robbie, and somebody jumps off a building. And I inspire them. Because I think there's like a fine line between telling somebody directly to do something or encouraging something or just simply inspiring something, meaning somebody just takes something you said and turns
what we
it.
do here, we're not producing hate content.
Right.
We are not targeting groups based on their ethnicity, their beliefs, ideologies. Exactly. We're not encouraging any harm to be brought to anyone. So what we do is very different, Neil.
That's fair. But if there were a time and a place where we're talking about black people or white people, and I just happen to say, I'm not going to say it, get rid of all the blah, 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 blahs, and then somebody gets inspired by that, or, maybe I don't even mean to say it. Maybe I just said it, a joke sarcastically, and someone takes that. I'm just saying, I'm glad he was in jail, but I'm just saying that I still have to be worried about my own rights.
I think it goes a little bit. I see what you're saying, Neo, because it's like kind of where that line draws, but it's very obvious where the line draws, because in this scenario, this man's
in this case.
Yeah, he's definitely promoting it. He's advocating for it. He's hinting at it. It's all of these, what was it, right-winged, I believe, ideologies,
Right-wing.
and just this extremist white supremacist views. So that's different, because I know we on this panel lean a little bit towards a side, but we don't promote advocate and hint to beat up Donald Trumpers. Like we don't do that. We don't promote propaganda or anything like that, but we do have our own strong opinions.
I think
There
you're
are days
looking.
when I
I think
want
you're
to
looking.
advocate
I
for
think
that.
you're looking at this. I think you're looking at this through the lens of being an American, where we yell about freedom of speech a lot, and that
Yeah,
you have the
it
freedom of
is.
speech and the freedom to say things. In other countries, you don't have that.
That's
So, we are dealing, he's in another country, and this country says, hey, if you're going to be caught and you could be linked to something, then you're going to get charged, because there's not a freedom of speech, in their constitution. But also, too, he has done stuff. Was it just 11 years just for the speech? Because he also been charged with like defacing memorials and other things.
Wow.
So it's other stuff this dude has done.
Didn't they
That
connect him to two
it's
shootings though?
Yeah, he's
They
inspired
linked
they
him to
did
other
connect him
shootings,
to
yes.
Colorado and Buffalo here,
Because his
but he's done
extremist
stuff
material
in
was
UK.
being
But were
shared.
these shooters only inspired by this one guy?
No.
pretty much.
No, but you're
Not
looking
all.
at it. I think you're looking at it as an American though. But UK ain't playing. The other countries, their laws don't play. You cannot do stuff just willy
Let me give
nilly.
you let me give you a good example, Neil, where that free speech ends. In Germany, try flying a swastika. Try touting around Mein Kampf. These are crimes. They stomp it down. You're free to say whatever you want, but when you start spouting Nazi and hate ideology, they're going to shut you down. It's not to say that there isn't racism that exists and that's systematic in their law enforcement and military, but as a society, they don't tolerate it. I think that, it'd be interesting. It's not an extradition. This is the host nation saying, you know what? You are a hate mongerer. You inspire people to go out and act on your message of hate. And in this case, somebody did.
I mean, and I love it because ultimately I got the reward that I would like to see, which is this dude in jail. But with that being said, if it had been me, like Johnny gave a great example. If I had said, go out and I hate Donald Trumpers, so you should,
But the law here wouldn't allow you. The law here wouldn't allow that to happen to you.
Yes,
we have law. The laws here wouldn't allow that to happen.
That law.
So
even though I'm upset that people like this guy in our country can continue to do what he did and just spout all this hate and all this other nastiness, even though I don't like that, I also like the freedom, personal freedom of being able to say things without being jailed.
But I feel like why do is it normal to be hateful? Like I think it's a deeper question. Like why do you hate a public figure? I mean, I don't like half of the presidents that have existed, but I don't hate them either. Like I don't have hate towards them or anybody for that matter. So it's just like that's a bigger.
Good for you, Gianni.
Would you feel differently, Neil, if you had been at that grocery store? Would you feel differently about this if you had been at that grocery store?
Or Colorado?
Okay.
Or if you've been a survivor?
Yeah.
Meaning gotten shot and survived?
Yeah. Or just there. I mean, I would be
just
traumatized.
I would have been traumatized. I unfortunately haven't seen anything like that. The closest I came to seeing something like that was when I was in high school. I was in the metro station, Tinleytown, and we were just going down the metro, and all of a sudden these guys come running through, start shooting guns down the shooting bullets down the escalator at somebody, and we go running off, and we're like, oh my God, what in the heck is going on? And fortunately nobody got hurt, but that's the closest I've come to anything similar to this, and that was devastating in its own way.
So if you had found out that those guys had been watching a video and this person was inspiring that, would you not want that person to face some kind of consequence?
Don't get me wrong. I want him to. I just don't. I don't want my rights of being able to say things that might inspire people to affect me being put in jail. So it's a balance that's tough to find. I mean, because I don't like all those hate mongers, and I'm not a hate monger.
Yeah.
But for me to be able to feel confident to say what I need to say and not go to jail for it, unfortunately, I have to deal with all these hate mongers.
But that's to say, we have the laws to protect that it'd be very less likely to happen here.
All right. So Jacqueline Robinson, a couple of comments. I think it's a type of terrorism that has a name. It starts with a D. This is when somebody deliberately riles someone up to attack or someone, a group of people. They commit domestic terrorism, similar to the way IQ 45 Trump riles up his supporters to invade the Capitol and commit atrocities. Kevin Thaxton, not in the fatherland. Dutchland don't play that.
Exactly.
All right. All right. So is this truth, lies, shenanigans?
Lies, shenanigans.
This is some truth.
That's some truth.
Some 11 and a half years of truth.
I'm cool with it. I'm ultimately cool with it. I just don't want it to happen to me. That's all I'm saying.
Don't promote hate speech. Don't promote hate speech. It will be good.
Don't leave the country and talk stuff. That's what it is. You just talk stuff here. Don't leave.
Talk all my trash.
You will go to jail.
Yeah,
you will go to jail. That's what happens.
All right.
They don't play.
All right, Johnny. The recession conversation we're going to have to save for another time. Sorry about that, because we are completely out of time. But let's go ahead and get into our game show. Yeah, we got to have some fun. We're talking all these tough topics. We got to have a little fun.
I know.
All right. Today's game is Simon Says. Real simple, and I'm Simon's judge. We'll spin the wheel and find out what Simon says. You'll need to successfully do whatever Simon says to get a point. If you fail to do what Simon says or you don't do it correctly, you get nothing. Person with the most points gets the final thought for the show. All right, we're going to do clockwise. And actually, Dr. J, you get to start first today. All right, you ready? All right, should be some fun. This is our first time doing this game, so we're going to see how it goes. All right, let's see. Simon says, oh, you got an easy one to start. Tell me the truth. What is your biggest fear? Simon says, tell me the truth. What is your biggest fear?
Don't laugh. Whales.
You said don't laugh. I'm trying not to laugh.
That is so strange. They're cute, Dr.
So
J.
are we talking like beluga? Or are we talking
all of them? All of them. Everyone, people who know me know this. Like people know me know this. I have a fear of whales. I am afraid of them.
What is scary about them
is
to
it
you?
Because of the phalanges that were so similar?
Phalanges.
No. They're huge, and they're just
they are.
No.
So if you were called on site for an emergency vet visit to a beached whale, you're not going.
Beached.
Sorry for that whale. Sorry to that whale.
That whale is dead. All right. Robbie Rock, you're up next. So you get a point. You're definitely getting a point. All right, good job. Got an easy one to start. All right. Robbie, Simon says, spell your full name backwards in 10 seconds. I've got to somehow figure out what's right. All right. If it's right. So go ahead. Start.
Write it down.
DNATRTERBTREBOR.
I don't know if that's right or not, but I'm giving it to you because you probably
No, I did it. I did it.
I think I got one letter out of six. I don't know.
Well, good job. That was I guess it was easier than I thought it would be. All right, good job. Got a point. All right, Dr. J, Rob B. All right, Gianni always gets the hard ones. Let's see.
I always do. I don't know what it is.
It's gonna be a presidential impression.
Simon says, name a person you hate and sing a happy song to them until Simon says stop. That'll be me, Simon, saying stop.
I don't hate anybody. Didn't I just say that?
There you go. You just said that.
Say that, actually. I might have to give it to you by default. Because you did actually say you don't hate anybody.
Just said that.
Yeah.
Before the game.
Dang, that's not.
I mean, I guess I hate Hitler. I guess I hate like.
There we
There
go.
you go.
Let's
Okay.
go. Sing happy. Oh gosh, this may not work out right. Good thing we have freedom of
It can
speech.
absolutely work.
Sing
It's
a
a
happy
happy
song to Hitler until Simon says stop. Go.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy
Oh,
birthday, dear
you did good. That's
Adolf.
smart. That's smart. Smart. I'm giving that
That's
to you.
well done.
That stop. It's the word stop. Okay, Simon says stop. Well done. Good job, Gianni. That
They're like, we
innovative. That's smart. All right. Dr.
Everyone
J.
celebrates a birthday.
Hopefully they get
Hey.
harder. Let's see.
Yes.
Dr. J. Simon says, oh no, we're not doing that one. All right, we're not doing that one. That should have been.
Okay.
It has to be something we can say. Okay. Describe any other player until Simon says stop. So just come up with
Okay.
descriptive words of the person. Pick one, whoever you want.
Radiant,
Ooh, which one?
curly
What are you
hair.
talking about? Oh, curly hair.
Me?
Very loving, high vibrations,
All right, Robbie, we're gonna go
positivity,
to the next one while she's doing that.
and kind. I still gotta keep going. Sure.
Dang.
All right,
Animal
stop.
lover.
Stop. All right, good job. All right, good job. You get the point.
That was
Yeah,
good.
that's it. All right, Robbie. Simon says, rap any musical song. You can look up the lyrics until Simon says stop. So any musical song, rap any musical
have to rap
song.
it.
You gotta
You have to
rap
keep
to rap
doing,
it.
You have to keep rapping it until Simon says stop.
Like
even
a
if we move on while you're doing that, so we're gonna move on.
Oh,
my
you
goodness.
suck. As if you were going to do that to me. Oh my god.
What kind
All right,
of
so
music?
find your musical. We're gonna move on to Gianni while you find your musical, and just start rapping once you get started.
Brass monkey, that funky monkey. Brass monkey, junkie, that funky monkey. Got this dance more than real. Drink brass monkey. How's how you feel? Put your left leg down, your right leg up,
Gianni,
your head back.
Simon says, whisper mean things about the sun until Simon says stop.
Bring the monkey with us.
Just whisper. You gotta whisper mean things about the sun.
Most definitely. I drink brass monkey and I rock well. Got a castle in Brooklyn. That's where I dwell.
The sun is ugly. The sun isn't even that bright. The sun isn't even.
I'm done, Neo. I'm done.
Well, you're lucky because I said stop earlier to her, so you're good.
The sun isn't the center of this universe.
All right, Simon
The
already
sun-
said stop, so you both get points.
Oh.
You said it isn't the center of the universe.
You know, the sun
It
likes
was
to be
ugly.
praised.
You guys are doing pretty good. You're doing really good. All right, so
Came to play.
all right, good. So everybody's still tied. So okay, last round. Here we go. Dr. J. Okay. Talk with a Scottish accent until Simon says stop.
Oh, I wish I would have had that one.
Oh, me too, Johnny.
So that means
Fun.
that means you can until Simon
Top of the
says
morning to the leprechauns.
until Simon says stop. You have to talk with the entire show with Scottish
The
accent.
leprechauns. He said Scottish.
That's Irish.
He said
Oh,
Scottish.
I don't know.
Scottish
Scottish?
until Simon says stop. You got to just keep talking.
Scottish is
Everything you
kinda-
say has to be in a Scottish
Worcestershire.
accent.
Channel
Worcestershire.
Worcestershire.
Oh, that
Okay.
is good. Oh boy, well, Tally,
Oh, Robbie,
Gloomy
you're
morning
free
days.
for one round.
and I don't.
Easy
It's
points.
By the skin of
Hey.
your teeth.
Okay, stop.
I don't know.
I'm giving it to you.
Good job. Good job, Dr. J.
You tried.
The mannerisms.
I'm gonna
now.
give it
If
to
it's
you.
not Scottish, it's crap. I can't believe you gave it a point.
Oh, that's
for
a
that
good
video.
Scottish accent. Look at you.
Wow.
Oh, I could have done Scrooge McDuck. Dang.
I'm giving it to you for trying. All right.
Dang.
All
It's
right,
almost like a
Gianni.
Dutch Irish.
Gianni, this is for you. You ready?
Yes.
Tell the last thing you bought on Amazon. Show proof.
Amazon.
So we gotta see on your phone
was
what
the
you
last
bought at
thing?
Amazon. We gotta see.
On our phone? Okay, let me see.
All right, so look it up. All right, so Dr. J, Rob B, we got to try to figure out how to break this tie. One final round. Way over time, but we're going to do one final round. All right. Simon Says, congrats. You have to do 2 Simon Says in a row, Dr. J.
Oh,
ready?
snap.
Here we go.
Please don't be any more accents.
Oh my God.
Oh, look.
Hey!
Lucky. Yeah. One of them is do nothing. All right, let's try another one.
The picture dance.
Oh, Simon Says, appropriate something from another culture.
Oh my God.
I'm going to go to the bar and have some mash and beans and top of the morning to you. And it's a rainy, dreary day and Mary Poppins.
With UK culture. Okay. That's
You mean bangers and mash?
Bangers and mash.
Bangers and mash.
This is going to be hard. I'm just going to have to go online and get people to judge you guys. Gianni, you're up.
Oh, I don't want to say it because this is actually my Secret Santa gift. But this was the last thing I got.
Oh, last thing she got, birthday gift for women. So that was your Secret Santa. Now everybody knows your Secret Santa was.
I love you, O.
All right, so Dr. J is still in the lead. Last one for you, Rob. I'm just going to pick somebody, whoever did the best. Talk like Elmo and shout out your mom or dad.
Aww.
Robert, to talk like Elmo, but that's kind of hard. I don't really know Elmo that well. And
not bad, though.
I will shout out my mom. I love my mom. She's amazing.
You got to do it in Elmo voice, though.
Oh, if I have to shout out my mom.
What's that, a Scottish Elmo? What the hell?
Right?
I know. I'm like, it's Pennywise. Like,
it's not Elmo. That is not Elmo.
All right, last
that
one.
Is not Elmo.
I'm just going to have to pick a winner. You guys are doing too good. Oh, you get an easy one. Do nothing. All right, I don't know who I'm going to pick a winner, so I'm going to go with Dr. J. Dr. J.
Yeah, Johnny and I got a couple of do-nothings.
Yeah. It's only because of the do-nothings.
Hey.
Well, all 3 of you got do-nothings, so it's crazy. All right, good game, guys.
Yeah, but she got her do-nothing, but she got doubled up.
I know. I had to do nothing and then something else.
Yeah. All right.
So rude.
Gianni, shut up.
Shout out to the guest Connie today. We really, really enjoyed you being on. I always appreciate creative people coming on, artists, all type of art mediums coming on, because I just feel like, 1, it is hard to break into the art industry and to make a living out of it, but 2, art is so therapeutic and it's so beautiful. So if you have time this week, pick up a paint, pen, drawing, pick up a paint, a marker, or a colored pencil. Pick up anything. Just get creative this week. Just have fun. Just let your mind.
I actually love painting. I don't do it. I can't find time like I want, but I love to paint. But Robbie?
Yes.
Shout out to all the healthcare workers that are still out there volunteering their time to run vaccination clinics. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time, your effort, and your dedication.
I love that one. All right, Dr. J.
Shout out to everybody who is having any mental crisis. Like, please get help and please reach out for help. It's been a rough week for a lot of people, period, or a rough 2 years. And just know that there are people out there that are really rooting for you to get better, and just reach out for help.
I love that one.
I love that.
All right. And my shout out goes to, I don't know if you know these guys, but the Inky Boys family. So they're a popular TikTok father and son duo, and they react scenes from movies, right? And they were hilarious.
So funny.
And the little boy, he even got a role on the new show Lopez versus Lopez because of what they did. So, and unfortunately, the father died from cancer this past week. So, really sad. Yeah. He had been sharing his journey and his fight with cancer. So, felt like I was in the fight with him, actually. So, So shout out to the family. Thank you, boys, and rest in peace. All right, so that is officially all the time we have for today's show. Long show today, but it was a great show. A lot to talk about. So thank you for joining us. We hope you learned something, gained a new perspective, simply had some laughs with us at the end at least. We'll be back live next Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, celebrating Black History Month. And don't forget, you can listen to new episodes of the podcast on Tuesdays on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you get your podcasts. You can always check out our recorded live episodes. Subscribe to us on YouTube using TLSShow.com. And one last reminder for the Pods Network, PODZNetwork.com. You can go now, sign up, check it out, podsnetwork.com. And our winner for that final thought of the show, Dr. J, winning Simon Says. Close us out, Dr. J.
Just the final thought of the day is everybody, love on each other. There's a lot of things going on. Media is constantly bombarding us with a lot of images that will cause a lot of stress. But know that there really is more good in this world than bad, and remember that.
Oh, that's a good statement. There's more good in this world than bad, and there you're absolutely right.
That's beautiful.
All right. Thank you, Robbie Rock, Dr. J. Gianni. But most importantly, we got to thank you for listening to our shenanigans each and every week. Talk to you next week.